Hello friends, I am Nisha Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of English, Government College, Khit. The topic under discussion today is the Romantic poet John Keats. In our earlier lecture, I have already told you that the English Literature Paper 1 Poetry and Drama syllabus for Part 2 has been divided in three parts. The first section is almost covered by the Romantic poets like Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Byron, and we have already discussed the salient features of the Romantic era in our previous lecture. Although all these poets belong to the Romantic era, but with a difference. That's why it becomes necessary for us to know how is Keats different from other Romantic poets, or to say what type of a poet was Keats. Keats was born on 31st October 1795 and he died on 23rd February 1821. Though he died at the young age of 25 and had only been publishing poetry for 4 years, John Keats remains one of the most influential poets of the Romantic era of poetry. In his lifetime, Keats sold only about 200 copies of his poetry books, but his reputation and influence grew substantially following his 1821 death. Keats' deeply reflective poetic attempts to explore and understand beauty as it exists in all things inspired countless writers to pursue a similar program for writing poetry. Keats is the only revolutionary poet in whose poetry even the faint noise of the revolutionary thunder is not heard. Romanticism primarily was a revolt against the artificial pseudo-classical poetry in 18th century. Wordsworth was the founder of this movement. Romantic poets can be divided into two groups, old romantics and young romantics. In old romantics, there are Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Scott. Wordsworth, Coleridge, Scott belong to early romantics, whereas Keats, Shelley, and Byron constitute the later romantics. Among all the romantics, Keats was the last to born and first to die. But quite surprisingly, he achieved in 26 years what others could not get even the whole of their life. Keats is also said to be the most romantic of all the romantics. He was greatly inspired by Greek art, culture, and mythology. He was also inspired by Elizabethan poets, especially Spenser. John Keats does not write on social issues. In fact, he does not touch them and keeps himself away from them. He is of the view that it is not necessary to explain what is happening in the world so far as real purpose of poetry is concerned. John Keats is last but the best romantic poet in English literature. It is because he is not a social poet. Social poetry deals with social and political problems of the society. Many great poets demonstrate social problems in their poems. They explicate follies in people and also satirize the society by using cynical words. Some poets talk about politics, whereas others comment on people's behavior. But John Keats has no nexus with politics, nor does he lay a hand on norms of the civilization. Every romantic poet has his own writing style. Romantic poetry has many factors. It is on the poet which ingredient he prefers the most. Some poets prefer nature, some favor escapism, and others believe in supernatural elements. Keats is also not different from common poets in this regard. He also talks about these fundamentals of romantic poetry. We can say John Keats is the pure romantic poet. Every poem of John Keats deals with problems of his own. His poetry is objective. It is neither for the sake of criticism nor to apprise the people of any society. He gives neither any message nor does advice to his readers. His poetry lacks morality. His words are not sarcastic. He does poetry for the sake of poetry only. John Keats hence is considered as the purest poet in the history of English literature. Now, what does pure poetry mean? Isn't it the duty of a poet to deal with social problems and to tell people that they are committing blunders? A single answer to these questions is that the primary purpose of poetry is not to raise voice against the problem of society. There may be poets who consider their duty, who consider themselves duty bound to talk about wrongdoings of society, yet it is not what poetry is done for. The poetry which gives pleasure to the senses is considered best and therefore can be called purest poetry. Pure poetry is vital element of romantic poetry. John Keats' purpose to do poetry only for poetry is one of the major factors which makes him a romantic poet. Now, the next quality which comes to our notice is note of escapism, and that escapism makes John Keats a romantic poet. He has been bestowed with wonderful power of imagination. Keats is the most romantic poet, therefore he is the most escapist of them all. When he remains failed to face harsh realities of life, he finds pleasure in his imagination, where he creates world of his own. He enjoys company of birds, flowers, landscapes, mountains, and rivers in his imagination. For example, in Ode to Nightingale, he creates his imaginative world where he enjoys sweet eternal song of nightingale, which provides peace to his mind and harmony to his soul. In his eyes, the world is cruel and the only option we have is escapism. Through his poetry, he wants to prove that pains of life cannot be competed. Therefore, escapism is the only choice. The world is barren and colorless, whereas imagination is full of colors. In imagination, he forgets worries of life and can do anything that he wants, even such things which are impossible in real life. Escapism is the most important ingredient of romantic poetry. It is available in the poetry of John Keats and makes him the best romantic poet. Keats loves Greek and medieval literature. Love for past is also another important element of his poetry. Ancient Greeks and their myths are matter of interest for him. His love for Greeks is highly appreciated by many other poets of his era. In many of his poems, he talks about Greek spirits and culture. Viewing the love of John Keats for Greeks, Shelley said Keats was a Greek. He reads Greek classics, due to which his interest in their culture increases. Besides, he also loves their art. Keats was also Hellenistic like all romantics. He was inspired by Hellenism. Hellenism was the soul of his poetry. There are many Hellenistic features in his poetry, such as his Greek instinct, his love for Greek literature, his love with Greek sculpture and art, his Greek temperament, his love for beauty, and the touch of fatalism and tragedy. His attitude of melancholy is also Hellenistic. Ode to Grecian Urn is a naked example of his love for Greeks. He compares art with mortality in the soul. He calls art immortal and human mortals. Art, he says, will remain forever, whereas human will fade and pale one day. A Greek artist has sculptured some images on the urn, and Keats has something to say about it. He felt in it the calm grandeur of Greek art. its symmetry and simplicity, and lastly, sense of proportion, its subordination of parts to the whole. He is lunatic for beauty, and beauty is soul of his poetry. Thus, in his imagination, he remembers people of Greeks who are introduced to him through Greek literature. Keats' Hellenism is notable in this regard. Not only Greeks, but also people of medieval period are matter of interest for him. Some of his poems are on medieval period. So, John Keats' love for past also increases the strength of his romantic poetry and makes him a perfect romantic poet. Keats loves nature. Keats also loves nature and elements related to it. He converts natural objects into beauty. An ordinary thing becomes extraordinary when it passes from the eyes of John Keats. He has an unbelievable power to create words from natural elements. However, he does not exaggerate them as S.T. Coleridge does. Love for nature is the chief characteristic of all the romantics. Keats also loves nature, but he loves nature for the sake of nature. He does not give any theory or ideology about nature. He only admires the beauty of nature. But on the other hand, Wordsworth spiritualizes nature. Coleridge finds some supernatural elements in nature. Shelley intellectualizes nature. And Byron is interested in the vigorous aspects of nature. Keats believes that art is for art's sake. Keats is a pure romantic poet. He writes poetry for the sake of poetry. He believes in art for art's sake. He does not write poetry for any palpable design or any propaganda. His major concern is to give pleasure. It means that his chief concern is pleasure. Whereas some other romantics have been writing poetry for the propagation of their objectives, as Wordsworth and Shelley were in favor of French Revolution, but Keats is least concerned with the social issues of life. Negative capability. Keats was a pure poet as he does not project any theory in his poetry. Keats believes in negative capability, the capability of being impersonal. Keats does not involve his personal feelings in his poetry. He writes poetry only for pleasure, but Shelley lacks negative capability. Shelley lends his personal sorrow and feelings in his poetry. He could not be impersonal and writes about his feelings and sorrows. Keats is a sensuous poet. Keats is a sensuous poet. It means that he writes his poetry with his fantasins. We not only enjoy his poetry, rather we can taste, touch, see and hear all the ideas presented in his poetry. We enjoy his poetry with all our fantasins. The whole of our body is involved in his poetry when we read him. Keats' imagery is static and concrete, whereas Shelley's imagery is dynamic and abstract. Keats' imagery shows the calmness of Keats' mind, whereas Shelley's poetry shows his neurotic and confusing attitude. Keats is regarded as a lover of beauty. As with other romantic poets, Keats focused his writerly attention on understanding and exploring beauty. For Keats, all things possessed potential beauty, and it was his job as a poet to find this beauty and capture it in his poetry. For Keats, identifying and understanding that which is beautiful allows one to become more acquainted with truth. In the concluding lines of his most famous work, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Keats writes, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know." This concept of Keats is quite clear to what is explained in our Hindu Dharma, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Satya ही शिव और शिव ही सुंदर है. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. Keats focuses on familiar thing, unlike some other contemporary romantic poets. Keats focused on common and familiar things in his poetic attempts to understand beauty. While Shelley wrote about intangible things, Keats focused on more immediate and identifiable things, such as the cool dew of an autumn day. Keats once wrote, "If a sparrow comes before my window, I take part in its existence and pick up about the gravel." This suggests that Keats was always on the lookout for beautiful things wherever they occurred. Keats seemed to believe it's easy to see beauty in a majestic mountain or a stunning sunset, but the activities of a common bird pecking at a window contain just as much beauty. We find removal of self in Keats' poetry. He attempted to identify and explore the beauty of common things by stripping himself of any personality traits that could potentially dictate his exploration. In this pursuit, he aligned himself with writers such as William Shakespeare, whom he saw as being able to discover the beauty in mundane things because he did not express preferences. This attempt to remove his personality from his pursuit of and description of beauty is a reaction to earlier romantic poets such as William Wordsworth and Coleridge, whom Keats saw as having a sort of poetic obsession with beauty as it exists in the natural world. Odal hymns. The most famous set of Keats' poems include six odes he wrote to physical things such as an urn, a nightingale, and an autumn day, and mental things such as indolence, melancholy, and psyche. These odes fall within the poetic tradition of English odes in that they are lyrical stanzas that are dedicated to praising something. These poems perfectly represent Keats' poetic obsession with identifying and describing beauty in everyday objects. They are essentially expanded descriptions mixed with imagined narratives about the object on which they focus. Through this interplay of description and narration, Keats reveals each object's or concept's beauty. Now we have at least an idea of what type of a romantic poet was Keats, and therefore it becomes easier for us to understand the poem when we'll go to the point. Thank you.